All right. So in the last video, I went ahead and talked about the sort of chronology of parent with narcissistic personality traits, um, basically contributing to the formation of BPD in the offspring, and as a alternate personality, a sort of DID personality pseudo, in the same way that Asperger's was like a more functional autism and gave us a lot of insight. I believe that borderline, if we actually looked at it as a more of a subset of DID versus personality disorder, that actually would answer a lot of our questions about DID also. The evolution of complex PTSD and maladaptive alternate personalities, and just a lot of that kind of stuff, and utilizing the Hunchback of Notre Dame as the Disney movie as a sort of a backdrop to try to give a little bit better context and tie-in, and a source material from which to gather the more personal feelings, more subjective aspects of this particular issue. Now, that being said, the particular scene that I was referencing was the first scene where Frollo and Quasimodo have a kind of a little bit of a duet, and it really paints the picture of the narcissist and the CPTSD, and that's it's really ridiculously valuable in tying those together. But at the end of that, Frollo leaves, and Quasimodo is alone. And this is kind of like that narcissistic person, or the leaving in the borderline personality starting to recede a little bit. The core personality starting to emerge a little bit more, and then we just have Quasimodo doing this solo, and goes like this. Safe behind these windows and these parapets of stone, gazing at the people down below me. All my life I watch them as I hide up here alone, hungry for the histories they show me. All my life I memorize their faces, knowing them as they will never know me. All my life I wonder how it feels to pass a day not above them, but part of them. And out there, living in the sun, give me one day out there. All I ask is one, to hold forever out there, where they all live unaware. What I'd give, what I'd dare, just to live one day out there. Now, why is this part so important? Well, it really, really paints the picture for the core personality behind borderline. And there's a tremendous degree of innocence and enthusiasm, hope, and a resilience, a quieter, more unassuming resilience, um, that almost looks like a resignation, but not quite. And there's an overly romanticized view of this world that they've been cut off of. If only they could leave that prison, that the narcissistic parent or guardian is trying to keep them locked away in. And this is generally more of a mind, a psychological entrapment rather than a physical, but I've heard of many a story where there was a physical aspect as well. And even for myself, I've gone through some of that. There's just there's so much a hope, a desire to integrate and to be accepted and to be among others that it's a really pure, very innocent personality. And the problem with that is if the person ever actually projects that personality, or if they actually recover from their borderline personality and their core personality starts to present more, we find, I've personally found, and talked with many others that have found the same thing in dealing with their borderline personality disorder, that in many cases, we expect, in almost all cases, we expect that innocence to have died by the time we're older. We really know that we shouldn't. And we say we appreciate it. And we do, more or less, in children. But in adults, we expect it, like I said, to be dead. Or to have died down, out significantly, however you want to phrase that. And as a result, our interpretation of that individual is that they are very naive, that they are very dependent, that they are very immature and very unable to have an adult relationship and or to adapt to some of the qualities we've internalized that we probably know we shouldn't have internalized to the degree that we have, but we have. And so to be around that kind of person, it kind of like reminds us of all the ways, kind of like that scene from Mr. Deeds where he's like, I bet none of you when you were kids wanted to be what you are today. What did you want to be? And one guy was like, I wanted to be a veterinarian. What do you do now? I own a extremely successful chain of slaughterhouses. And it's like, wow. As he said, I bet if our younger selves could see us now, they'd kick our own asses. and it really, I mean, there's a lot of truth to that. Um, to be around someone like that reminds a lot of us how much we've sacrificed, the things that we never wanted to sacrifice, the things we were absolutely certain we wouldn't sacrifice, and how many of those things we have. And that causes us to be very resentful of that person for having revealed that to us, and or continuing to reveal that to us in such a way that we are unable to escape from, and it causes us to loathe them in a manner in which there's no reasonable excuse for, 9 times out of 10. And I tell people the real tragedy is not that these people were raised in this extremely traumatic, extremely abusive environment, but rather that even once they get out of that environment, we will blame them for everything that they've been through, and we will blame them for everything that they're still going through, and we will blame them for everything wrong in our everything that has gone wrong in our own lives, and the ways that we've become corrupt. We've allowed ourselves to become corrupt by our choices, and it's very very sad, because these people really don't want anything more from us than just to be accepted and to be among us. And that's so little to ask, but it seems so much now, because so many of us have so lost our way. And as for myself, and there are many others out there, eventually we kind of figure out that it's like that, and that romanticized view kind of dies, and we start to retreat again. And at this point, we're very susceptible to whether it's suicide or social isolation, or any number of different things. But there's a song a little bit later, and a revisit of that song at a crucial moment in that movie. And the revisit goes, "I knew I'd never know that warm and loving glow, though I might wish with all my might, no face as hideous as mine was ever meant for heaven's light." And in this case, we're talking about the Hunchback of Notre Dame. We're talking about someone who's physically deformed. But what about when, in the case of borderline personality disorder, it's a physical abnormality of the brain caused by the fact that the brain absorbs and stores information physically by changing the physiology of it. And they've been subjected to so much abuse that it actually has changed the way that their brain is